What's up, everybody? I am back to talk about thus far the greatest episode of Insecure. The pressure. Okay, this episode was so good. I give it an A plus. It was relatable. Personally, not for me because I don't have no damn kids, but it was just such a well done episode. You got to see this perspective, that perspective. It had the laughs. It was funny because last episode wasn't funny at all, and it was just so good. I'm pretty sure so many people, so many parents, okay, who have terrible relationships with their co-parents, could relate to this episode. It was just so well, it was so fine tuned. It was a great episode, y'all. It really was. The season premiere was okay. It was decent. I didn't dislike it. Second episode, yeah. This episode, it was really great. I've seen some people like, oh, I don't want no Lawrence episode. Like, look, bitch, he's a fucking cast member on the show. You gonna get a Lawrence episode, all right? And this wasn't no half episode like in season 3 when he and Issa reunited for the first time in like, what, a year or so? This was a full-on Lawrence episode, and it was good. So, the episode opens up with Lawrence. It's a flashback to when Lawrence gets dumped by Issa and he goes back home. It's just, contemplating life in his apartment on his own because you see Lawrence is getting ready to make the move to wherever he's moving to. I can't remember the city because of his new job. Meanwhile, he's on a date with with some girl, and he gets a text, he gets a call letting him know that his son was just born. So he literally had to get up. He paid for the deal, put a little something on the tip, and he dipped out, caught the next thing smoking back to Inglewood, I believe, and went to that delivery room, where whatever the case may be, and was just met with so much tension. Like, they was looking at him like, oh, you showed up? I mean, we said you could come, but it really wasn't encouraged. Like, if you couldn't make it, it wasn't. We were not going to be. I mean, it would have been so all right with all of us. You really did not have to show your face, cause Condola's mom wasn't having it, and that, can y'all believe that is Layla Roshan? That is Sunshine from Harlem Nights. That is Robin from Waiting to Excel. That is, I can't remember her name in Boomerang. That is Amira from Why Do Fools Fall in Love. That is motherfucking Layla. She was in a movie alongside Vivica Fox and her cheekbones and Halle Berry, who still looks like she did Why Do Fools Fall in Love yesterday. And I know people are like, oh, well, she has a disease. Isn't that more reason? Hey, this ain't about Layla Roshan, all right? She's just Condola's mom. Keke Palmer plays the sister. And, Lawrence is a little dumbfounded at first with seeing his son until he finally holds him. And then, they tell him that the name is Elijah Mustafa, named after their grandfather, who made a razor, was a little too sharp. It didn't go too well, but whatever, he made it. And Lawrence was pissed. He's like, Mustafa? I thought his name would have been Elijah Walker, which I don't automatically feel, I don't feel this way at all. I do not feel like babies should automatically take the father's last name, particularly when the mother is going to do the majority of the rearing, especially we talking about single parent wise. She's going to do the majority of the raising and nurturing of that child. The child is going to be living in with her. So why the fuck does the child need to have your last name just because you're the man? I don't agree with that sexist shit. I don't agree with that gender role. I'm not a fan of it. I will say I'm definitely proud to have my mother's last name because that's my grandmother's last name. And my other side of the family, just believe me when I say I'm glad that I'm not one of them, for real. Because my father was not shit, so I'm glad to not be having his last name. I have his first name, unfortunately, but I plan on changing that shit. His first name on the name. So I did not see a problem with them naming him Elijah Mustafa at all because, they're not together. So obviously they're not married. And the only reason why Lawrence probably felt like Elijah should have had his last name is only because he's the father, which that's not a good reason. Like, you, if I'm not mistaken, didn't even originally want to have the child, but since he's here, you want him to have your last name. I'm not fucking with that. So he was disappointed, but he had to get over that shit. So the whole episode, for the most part, it was them trying to find that medium ground of trying to co-parent, and he was pretty much just trying to figure out where does he fit in, and he made it worse for himself when he decided to continue to take that job and wherever the fuck instead of just find another local job, knowing that he was gonna have a son. Getting on the plane every week, going back and forth, like, I can't even imagine, especially somebody who don't even fucking like planes. I can't imagine that you gonna bring your baby on the plane every week. Nah. He should have realized sooner, like, yeah, this ain't gonna work out. I do not want to hop on the plane. And that is expensive. I mean, Lawrence seems to be balling now. If you look at that condo he got, man, definitely a far cry from the dunes. But that was never gonna work out to begin with. But they try to work it out, and Lawrence, after coming out and trying to make arrangements with Condola about the baby shower. I mean, not the baby shower, the baptism. He realized that she made almost every plan about without him, and he wasn't liking that at all. And she was like, "Well, you said that you wanted to be a keep me posted kind of dad." So he realized that was a mistake, and I feel like that was easier for him to say before the baby was actually there. Now that he's actually then like fell in love with the baby as he should have as the father, now he wants to be more involved as he should have. But he should have had that conversation with her, like saying, "Hey, I know I said this, but can we do this? I know I said that, but can we do this instead?" And Condola's like, "Well, sure, we'll work it out." They didn't work shit out because the rest of the episode, they were just at each other's throats, treating their child like a trophy for them to win in a competition. And I feel like either you got a good set of co-parents or you don't. It's like either they don't get along and it's never gonna work out, or they're amicable, but they're still going to be fighting over the child, trying to take control of this being my child instead of this being our child. And that was an issue that surfaced later on in the episode. So they ended up going to Tiffany and Derek's birthday party for their 1-year-old Simone, and Kelly was there looking like she was being Janelle Okay, we're still rolling. She was there as if she was trying to be Janelle Monáe for Halloween. She got the antics and everything going on, and she was just so fucking funny. And I was like, yeah, this makes sense for her to do this birthday party, considering how the fact she wanted to choke Tiffany for not giving her any clearance, any authorization in the planning and executing of her baby shower for Simone. So she got Pepper Pig with a hard R because copyright is a real fucking thing, and Kelly ain't got no money like that to be getting sued. Tyrell is over there as Pepper Pig. And I thought this would have been so cool. I thought it was going to be the cousin from the play in the first season where they did some type of Jesus play. I was hoping it was going to be that guy from Dormtainment. Now that I say that, I want to watch the episode because this was cousin Tyrell in this episode. I want to know what cousin that was back in that episode. I need to make sure. I want to go see if that's him. But yeah, everything was all cool. Kelly was hilarious. She told that nigga he was over there getting roasted, and he tried to offer her something. She was like, "Nigga, you know I'm high already." Because she hate kids. And she said Simone is an angel amongst creatures, amongst demons. That was hilarious. That's how I look at my nephew now, an angel amongst demons. So Lawrence takes the baby. They try out some chocolate, and he has it all over his face, and Condola just flips out. And I was like, you know what? Condola, you kind of pissing me off. Because she's like, oh, well, I had already planned on how I was going to introduce him to certain foods. And Lawrence is like, well, the doctor said it was cool as long as this past 4 months. And she's like, that's not the point. What if he was allergic? Da, 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 da. And this was just her trying to exercise control. That's all it was. Lawrence could have did everything right and she still would have had an issue with it because he did it without her, which is why she deferred to saying, give me my baby. Trying to command him as if this is something that solely belongs to her. And Lawrence resisted, understandably, to the point where Derek had to pull him to the side and say, you know what? This ain't the way you want to go about things. And I understand what he meant by that because, she is the primary caregiver of the child, and she's already dealing with a lot. And the last thing that you want to do is add stress and make her never want to deal with you at all. As far as camp, even though she was wrong, I feel like she was wrong. She did not have to flip out over that because that was something so small. So small. Like I said, regardless of what Lawrence would have did, because he did it without her, and because it wasn't her plan, she was, as the one who's planning everything all the time, she was going to have an issue with it regardless. So Derek is telling him like, yeah, Tiff and I, we were having issues, but we had to learn to communicate. Lawrence is like, I don't give a fuck about none of that because we're not married. We're not even together. That's different. He's like, it's still the same. Y'all both still have to come together and figure out what works for y'all in raising this child. So he lightly take sort of like he barely receives the information and walks off. And, things come to a different head at the baptism. I don't know why I want to call that something else. At the baptism. And his uncle, I don't know what, I think Uncle Ronnie giving him $5. And he was like, you need another $5? Your nephew is on his way to being a black Mark Zuckerberg. No, he does not need Uncle Ronnie's $5. Like, come on now. That was an issue, but I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something about her at the I want to call it the baptism. I don't know why I want to call it that. The baptism. Y'all just bear with me, please. But anyway, so I think Lawrence was really struggling to man, I am really being met with so much resistance and I can't even, I'm trying to be here. I want to be here. I know that I have to be here. And she is making it, to him, she is making it so difficult. And she is on this page, well, this is what he said that he wanted. Now he wants to change everything. And he's not even honoring up to his changes. He's never here. He cancels 3 hours early, which I kind of felt was like a reasonable amount of time. But it's the point that he's never there. And he is across the fucking lake. Well, he's across a couple cities. And because, California has so many fucking cities within cities. So with that being said, things came to a halt. And mind you, Lawrence is over there. He got this crib that his baby's never going to be in because Condola's never going to let him have it. He's working all the time. I feel like things would be different if he did not have to hop on a fucking plane every week. He made the dumbest decision to continue to move knowing he had a baby on the way. He really shot himself in the foot because, like I said, nobody's going to feel like hopping on a plane all the time. And then, like I said, if you're not the primary caregiver of the child, you're not really going to see it as a big deal. As somebody who never has even had the child for a couple of days already, he's not going to see how important that is to Condola for you to actually come and get this baby out of my fucking hands for whatever time you got to do it. I want to just sit on my ass and do nothing all day. A motherfucker want to lay down and do nothing all day and not have to worry about a baby screaming. When she was sitting on that toilet, stressed and shit, holding her fucking forehead, I felt that, but not because I got kids, but because I got to fucking work. And some days I got to come home from work and I got shit to do. I had shit to do today. That's why my review is so late. Well, tonight, that's why my review is so late. So he did not understand that instance. So when he canceled, that was a lot on her. And I will say Keke Palmer, she definitely played herself this episode. I didn't feel like she was acting as another character at all. But I feel like it was really weak for her and her mom to be judging Lawrence because this is not something Lawrence did to Condola. This was a ill-advised thing that they did to each other by getting pregnant and knowing, well, he actually wanted a relationship with her. It was her who didn't want a relationship with him. So really, she did something wrong to him because she knew she didn't want nothing to do with Lawrence long term, and she had his baby anyway. So really, it was her who, it was his family who should have been pissed at her. But they hate him and stuff, and she was just all in Condola's ear telling her a bunch of bullshit. That wasn't cool. It really was not cool because some people will buckle and be like, yeah, that nigga ain't shit and I don't want him coming around my fucking baby. Which, you know, she was almost at that point at Lawrence's last visit, okay? Because he had everything ready to go, but all it took was him not being able to calm that baby the way she wanted him to be able to be calm. It's like, what difference does it make? I mean, I get it. She's a mom, so she ain't cutting that umbilical cord anytime soon. But he taking a baby off your hands, and he not about to go pull a Michael Jackson to hold this motherfucker over a balcony and accidentally drop him. That's not what he's doing. But she was invalidating him every step of the way, and that was not cool. So he lost his temper a little bit, and it reminded me of Say the Last Dance when I can't remember his name, but he tried to come get the baby. And she was like, oh no, not with that temper, not with that attitude. And he like, fine, I ain't gonna take him. It's like, nigga, you ain't really want to take him anyway. That's why you gave up so fucking easily. Like, come on now, I know the game. But anyway, it came to a halt, and he's like, Lawrence is exploding on her. Like, you always acting like I can't do shit, or I'm gonna fuck everything up, or you're just such a better parent than me. And, you know, she's like, you know what, you just trying to pop in and pop out, and you do this and you do that. And he was like, well, you fucked this up for me when you blew my life up. And that was like incredibly selfish because, like, as I just said, these motherfuckers did this to each other, and that was really fucked up of him to say. But because at the end of the day, she told him, you can be as involved as you want to. You don't even have to be here. But you agreed to be here as you should have. And this is what comes along with it. She didn't fucking ruin your life. You two ruined each other's lives, as quiet as it's kept. So I can't remember. What the fuck did he say to her at the end that made her want to get out of here? Oh, he threatened her pretty much saying, we either gonna get through this, so I'm gonna go take your ass to Judge Mathis. And she told him to get the fuck out of her house. That's what he did. He got the fuck out of her house, hopped on that plane for the 5th and 11th time, had a little issue with turbulence, thinking he was gonna die. And that scene where he was crying, that was so beautiful, but it would have been more convincing if he actually cried instead of giving us just a little tear that could. So he does some self-reflecting, calls Condola on the phone and says he's sorry, this ain't working out, and what do we do? And that was the end of the episode. And it was so good. It was really good. I was kind of wondering what they were doing with this episode because I'm like, okay, with this whole storyline in general, I need to hurry up before my phone dies. But, because I was like, so is Issa dating him while Condola's pregnant and having a baby? But I guess, because I'm like, the time skip was a little weird. But I guess we see, like, no, they weren't dating because she broke up with him before Elijah even got here. And some people can argue about that. I tell you this. On the one hand, you can be like, a man would never do that for a woman. But it's like a lot of things a woman would never do for a man also. So you can kind of pick and choose when you want to decide what's too much for a woman and what's too much for a man if the shoe was on the other foot. I just feel like some things will just never be the same. You being with a man while pregnant with another baby, that is a lot, especially like intimately wise, and you know, it is a lot. It really is a lot. As opposed to the man is with you and the baby's not there until the baby actually get there. He got to see you walk around feet swollen, titties lactating, and you fat, and you kicking, and you're being kicked by a baby that's not his. If y'all having sex, he having sex with you with another man's baby in your stomach. Like, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot that women don't even have to go through when they with a man who's expecting. You know what I mean? So there's no right way to really leave, but he really needed Issa. He really needed Issa to help him get through this because clearly he didn't know what he was doing on his own. But there was no right thing or wrong thing for Issa to do. Just like if a man leaves a woman who's pregnant with another man's child, there's no right or wrong thing to do. If you're uncomfortable with it, you're uncomfortable with it. It is a lot on both ends, but I feel like it's easier for the woman than it would be for the man because the baby is literally here with him because he's with you, whereas the baby is with her over there while he is with you. So it's just different. I don't really feel like you can compare it. But y'all, this was a great episode. It was a really great episode, and I hope next episode doesn't let us down. Because, like I said, the premiere was decent, and last episode was low key forgettable, or it was forgettable. Okay,